Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we continue following the bittersweet and deeply emotional love story between CEO James and LyTuDiep, a romance that has stirred countless hearts. In the previous episode, we witnessed a major turning point. Diep finally regained her memory. She remembered James, the man who gave her his whole heart, who went through countless hardships just to find her. But tragically, a serious misunderstanding occurred. Diep mistakenly believed that Officer Lee, the one protecting her, was actually an accomplice of John, the man who had once pushed her into danger. In her fear and confusion, she decided to run away, convinced that staying in touch with James would only bring him harm. Part of the reason was that her memory hadn't fully returned. She couldn't even recall his phone number, which made her despair even more. And so, in the middle of a bustling city, a lost young woman, her face pale and distressed, wandered without shelter, spending cold nights on sidewalks, clinging to a fragile hope that one day, she would find her way back. Meanwhile, James remained steadfast. Every day, he quietly returned to the little wooden house, the place filled with their fondest memories, just to sit for hours, gazing down the street, hoping that Diep's familiar figure would appear at the end of the lane. He didn't care what others said about him being foolish. For James, waiting was the only way to hold on to that sliver of hope. His love wasn't loud or impulsive. It was enduring, profound, and heartbreakingly silent. So, will Diep find her way back to him? Is their love strong enough to overcome misunderstandings, pain, and the looming threats that still lurk in the shadows? Stay tuned for today's episode to uncover the next chapter of this moving story. Don't miss a single moment, because who knows, the biggest turning point may be waiting right at the end of the journey. James, lonely and lost. In the days without Diep, James felt as though he had lost himself. A man who once navigated the fiercest of business battles, who held an entire corporation in his hands with calm, decisive eyes, now crumbled under the weight of loneliness and choking despair. His luxurious home, once filled with every modern comfort, had turned cold and empty. Every corner, every hallway echoed memories of Diep, the woman who had once filled the place with warmth. The kitchen no longer carried the aroma of the evening soups she used to cook. The living room had lost its laughter and the gentle debates during their favorite movies. Everything was now nothing but dust-covered memories of the past. Each night, James sat motionless by the window. His eyes no longer held light, just a distant haze, as if searching for something invisible, the silhouette of the woman etched deep in his heart. Diep. There were nights he fell asleep on the sofa, half awake, clutching an old photo of the two of them, as though letting go would cause his entire world to collapse. Every message, every phone call sent a jolt through his heart. He hoped, then despaired, then hoped again. His heart was torn between faith and pain until he could no longer recognize how much he had withered. His hair grayed strand by strand from sleepless nights, his beard grew thick and unkempt, his body became gaunt, merely a shadow of who he once was. And then, on a windy afternoon, his mother, who had been silently watching her son's descent in quiet sorrow, came to sit beside him. She placed her weathered, calloused hand on his shoulder, like a protective embrace. She didn't cry, but her voice trembled as she spoke, touching something deep within him. "James, you can't go on like this. I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too, but if you let yourself fall apart, what will Diep see when she comes back? A man who's lost himself? I believe if you truly love her, you will rise again. Not to forget her, but to find her with the very best parts of yourself." James stayed silent. No tears fell, but the emotion swelled in his throat. How long had it been since he truly looked at his mother, the woman who had devoted her life to supporting him? And how long had it been since he remembered who he used to be, a man who once commanded respect in the business world, a man who once vowed to protect the woman he loved at all costs? He lowered his head, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Mom, I'm sorry." The next morning, James stepped out of his room. He was no longer the hollow man he had been. There was light in his eyes again, not yet whole, but enough to ignite a new resolve. He walked to his familiar barber shop, sat down, and quietly said, "Clean me up. Today, I'm starting over." Silver strands of hair fell to the floor like the shedding of dark, sorrowful days. Each stroke of the razor stripped away the tired exterior, revealing once more the face of a man who had once stood tall with resolve. When James looked at himself in the mirror, he paused. It was still him, but not the broken version of before. It was James, the man who loved Diep with all his heart, now ready to continue the journey to find her. Within him, a quiet but unwavering faith arose. "Diep, wherever you are, I will find you. I won't stop. I once lost my way, but now I will move forward for you, for our love." And from that moment on, James was no longer a man lost in the dark. He was a man reborn from his wounds, ready to walk through any pain to win back the woman he loved more than life itself. After getting his hair trimmed, James felt somewhat lighter. The mirror before him reflected a man still gaunt from months of sorrow, but with eyes that now held a clearer, more determined light. He knew he wasn't completely okay, but he also knew he couldn't delay any longer. It was time to return both to work and to the mission of finding Diep. James stepped into his office, a place he had neglected for weeks. The air still felt familiar, yet everything seemed cloaked in a layer of dust from his absence. Staff bowed politely as he passed, their eyes a mix of surprise and concern. They were relieved he had returned, but they could also tell he was no longer the vibrant CEO they once knew. Trang, his executive assistant and trusted right hand, was already waiting. She stood up and offered a soft smile. "Welcome back, James. I'm glad you came in today." James nodded. His voice was deeper than usual, but clear and resolute. "Thank you for carrying the load these past weeks. Now, I need a full update on where we stand." They sat down in a small meeting room. Trang went through the numbers, market fluctuations, pending contracts, and stalled projects. James listened intently, occasionally jotting notes, calculating silently. Though his heart remained heavy with thoughts of Diep, his mind gradually began to sharpen again. After over an hour of discussion, James leaned back in his chair, looked at Trang, and said, "I think we need to focus on 3 core fronts: restructure the sales team, realign our distribution strategy, and relaunch the paused export channels. Prepare a detailed plan. We'll present it at the executive meeting next week." Trang nodded, somewhat surprised by how quickly James regained his business acumen. She let out a quiet breath. At least he was starting to rise again. After the meeting, the atmosphere softened. Trang looked at James, her gaze gentle and sincere. "James, what about Diep? Have you heard anything from her?" James lowered his head. He was silent for a few seconds, as if swallowing his emotions. Then he answered, his voice hoarse. "Not yet. I'm still looking, but there's been no trace. Some nights, I'm truly afraid I'll never see her again." Trang slowly placed her pen down, hesitated, then said, "I know, words probably don't mean much right now, but I believe if she's still out there somewhere, your love will find its way to her. And whatever happens, I'll always be here by your side whenever you need." James looked up at her. He didn't say a word, just nodded gently as a quiet gesture of thanks. He knew her care for him went beyond that of a professional assistant. But right now, his heart still belonged to only one person, Diep. That afternoon, as Trang arrived home, the last rays of sunlight were fading from the porch. She wearily took off her shoes and set her briefcase on the table when she heard her father calling from the living room. "Trang, come in here. I have something to talk to you about." She stepped inside and saw him already seated in his usual large armchair, his gaze sharp and stern, silently watching her like a man who had long prepared for this conversation. "You got home late. How's work? How's James doing these days? And that girl, Diep, any news?" Trang paused briefly, then slowly sat across from him. She exhaled, her eyes lowering. James, he's not doing well. He's back at work, but I know he's not truly okay. And Diep, still missing. No one knows where she is. Her father, Mr. Tran, gave a subtle nod. There was no surprise in his expression, only a confirmation of what he had already assumed. He looked her straight in the eye and said, voice calm yet cutting, Trang, this is the moment you need to act. James is at his weakest. Diep isn't here, and she might never return. This is your best chance. Trang looked up, startled. Dad, what are you saying? You mean, take advantage of his pain to insert myself into his life? Not take advantage, he emphasized, but show up at the right time. You've loved him for how many years now? You've stood behind him, done countless things for him without anyone knowing. Are you just going to sit there and watch him chase after a woman who may be gone forever? Trang fell silent. A storm of conflict rose within her. She had tried so many times, but James had never looked at her the way a man looks at the woman he loves. To him, she was a colleague, a companion, just Trang, never the one in his heart. Dad, I've tried, I really have. But James, he only loves Diep. I can't force him to love me. Mr. Tran smirked, his eyes filled with calculation. Love doesn't happen in a day. But being there, comforting, sharing little by little, it grows. Diep may never come back. But you're here. You know him. You work with him. Why not use that? Becoming the daughter-in-law of a family like James's would benefit not only you, but our entire family. Two birds with one stone. His words cut through her like a cold blade. Trang clenched her hands in her lap. Yes, she had loved James for a long time. But did true love have to involve strategy? Was it right to take advantage of this moment? Then, a small voice inside her whispered, if not me, the one beside him when he's at his lowest, then who? She softly replied, voice hesitant. Dad, can I have more time to think? Mr. Tran didn't answer immediately. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips, the smile of a father who knew his daughter all too well. He stood up and gently patted her shoulder. I know you'll make the right choice. Feelings, no matter how difficult, will take root if sown at the right moment. And now, it's time to plant the seed. Trang sat there long after he left. The sun had completely set, and her shadow stretched across the tiled floor. Inside her, love, desire, and morality were locked in fierce battle. But James's eyes came back to her, the lost look in them when he admitted he hadn't found Diep. And she knew if there was even the slightest chance to be by his side, even just temporarily, she was willing to take the risk. After the conversation between Trang and her father, Mr. Nwang, a quiet plan was set into motion. To help his daughter get closer to James, Mr. Nwang chose not to act directly. Instead, he opted for a softer, more subtle approach. He asked Trang's mother to visit James's mother, under the guise of a friendly check-in, while gently planting the idea of bringing Trang closer to James during this vulnerable period. Just talk to her like one mother to another, Mr. Nwang instructed his wife. Casually express concern, then suggest James take a trip abroad to help him forget about Diep. Emphasize that Trang could accompany him, to support his work and take care of him. Feelings can grow through closeness and care, especially when someone is emotionally fragile. Trang's mother, a woman not particularly sharp, but always obedient to her husband's arrangements, nodded in agreement. She understood this could be a great opportunity for her daughter, and perhaps a significant step forward for the entire family. That afternoon, she prepared a gift basket filled with bird's nest, tea, and some supplements, and personally made her way to James's villa. The atmosphere in the house was noticeably different from previous visits. A somber stillness seemed to settle over everything. When James's mother opened the door, Trang's mother immediately noticed the weary, melancholic expression, the look of a mother weighed down by too many worries. How have you been lately? She asked gently. I've heard James hasn't been doing well these days. I've been so concerned. After some pleasantries, she subtly steered the conversation toward her true purpose. The boy has been living in sorrow for so long, it pains me just thinking about it. Have you thought about letting James go abroad for a while? A change of scenery, some time away from everything that reminds him of the past. Maybe it would ease his heart. James's mother didn't answer right away. Her eyes lingered, clouded with sadness. Sensing the hesitation, Trang's mother continued, her voice softer. If it's convenient, our family is also considering letting Trang go with him to assist with his work and be there to take care of him. Trang understands him well. They've worked side by side for years. Being close like that, perhaps he'll start to feel genuine care from someone new. At that, James's mother frowned slightly. She knew Trang was a kind, graceful, and attentive young woman. But in her heart, Diep still lingered, a sacred love James had never let go of. James still hasn't accepted Diep's disappearance. Every day, he returns to that old house, as if he believes she'll come back someday, she said, voice trembling. Trang's mother gently took her hand. If there's still no news after a while, just give it some thought. I wouldn't dare decide for you. I only wish James finds peace again. After a moment of silence, James's mother finally nodded slowly. If there's still no sign of Diep in some time, I'll consider it. Trang's mother stifled a smile. Though it wasn't a firm agreement, it was enough to tell her that the door was beginning to open. Mr. Wang's plan could now enter its next phase. On the way home, she didn't say much, only sent a quiet message to her husband. Everything is moving in the right direction. As for Trang, after the conversation with her father, her heart began to waver. On the surface, she still carried herself with calm strength, but inside, she was caught in a quiet tug-of-war between heart and reason. Mr. Wang's words weren't without weight. At this moment, Diep was still gone. James was drowning in sorrow, lost and deeply wounded. If she didn't step forward now, would there ever be another chance? Trang knew very well that James had never loved her. In his eyes, she was just a colleague, a companion, nothing more. But her feelings weren't something sudden or fleeting. It was a love that had endured for years, deep, persistent, and impossible to extinguish. She loved James with unwavering patience, through countless quiet gestures left unspoken. And she believed that no matter how deeply James once loved Diep, people can change when the heart grows weary. That day, using the excuse that operations had stalled while James was away searching for Diep, Trang took the initiative to suggest a market review trip, checking up on branch performance, distribution points, and surveying key clients. Everything sounded logical, nothing forced. You need to show up again, she said. The staff wants to see you. And if you're not ready, I'll go with you to support. James nodded. He didn't say much, but he knew Trang was trying to pull him out of the darkness. The trip unfolded in a quiet atmosphere. James remained reserved, speaking only in brief exchanges about plans and figures. Trang didn't try to break the silence. She understood he was still living in memories and loss, and that if she pushed too hard, he would retreat. So she chose silence beside him, walking with him, supporting him, and tending to small things with quiet care. From having his coffee ready each morning, neatly organizing reports, to discreetly noting things he missed in the team's data. Whenever James sighed, Trang didn't ask, "What's wrong?" She simply handed him a bottle of water or looked at him with quiet empathy. No reminders, no pressure, no rushing his heart, just being there at the right moment, in the right way. In her heart, Trang knew she couldn't replace Diep, at least not yet. But she believed in time. She believed. Water wears away stone. No one stays in the past forever without glancing at the present. If I just stay by his side, someday he will see me. And so, day by day, she quietly rooted herself into the lonely world of James, not with noise, not with dramatic confessions, but with silent, patient presence. She didn't need him to love her immediately. All she asked for was a small crack in his heart, and she would be there, waiting for the day his eyes stopped searching for Diep and finally settled on her. So, will Diep be able to return to James? Will a love that has weathered so many storms still be strong enough to bring them back together, or is it already too late? And James, as he struggles to rise from his pain, does he still have enough patience to wait for someone whose fate remains unknown? Or one day, will he open his heart to Trang, the one who has quietly stood by him, without demands or conditions? Trang, with her steadfast love and quiet plan, will she finally be able to reach James's heart this time? Or is it all just a silent illusion on the sidelines of a memory that was never hers to begin with? Love is always a test with no guaranteed outcome. When one person is still searching, another is still waiting, and a third quietly enters the space between, whose heart will be chosen. Stay tuned for the next episode to discover new turning points, difficult choices, and truths slowly coming to light. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any emotional developments in the love story between James, Diep, and Trang. What do you think will happen next in this story? Leave a comment and share your thoughts below.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người ơi, thì hiện tại mình vừa mới hoàn thành xong tập hôm nay là tập tiếp theo của câu chuyện Lý Tự Diệp và Diêm. Thì trong tập hôm nay thì chúng ta có một tình tiết khá là bất ngờ, trong khi mà tình cảm của Diêm và Diệp đang bị chia cắt bởi sự mất tích của Diệp. Cũng có một chút lý do là do Diệp sợ ảnh hưởng đến Diêm nên mới không liên lạc với anh trong thời gian hiện tại, và cô đang đi lang thang. Và hiện tại Diêm thì vẫn chưa tìm được Diệp. Trong lúc này thì đã có một cái biến động khá là bất ngờ khi Trang thì bất ngờ đang lợi dụng tình hình này để xâm nhập vào tình cảm của Diêm. Thì thực ra thì mới đầu Trang cũng không có ý định làm như thế, nhưng qua lời xúi giục của Trang là một người rất là kiểu thâm độc, thì đã khuyên cô nên làm như thế, và cô ấy đang theo cái tiến trình đó. Thì liệu Diêm sẽ rẽ hướng và đi yêu Trang hay là tiếp tục tìm kiếm Diệp? Vậy thì mọi người hãy cùng đón xem ở tập sau mọi người nhé.